Goodness. Are we back? Can we get through a stream? Are we back? It looks like we're okay now. OBS says we're okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. Are we back? All right, I'm going to try to get through these questions really quick. All right. So, resuming where we're at. I still got the questions because those are saved on my computer here. Lost Ink was the next question. He said, where could I download the 2.6 version unified? So it's in beta. It is located in our Discord server. You go to our website, go to the news tab. There is a link there to the Discord thread. Right now, only the free firmware configs are available. The paid ones are not updated yet. They will be getting updates once we finish it up. Obviously, we're not posting the paid firmware for free. But if you want to test, if you have anything that's not an aftermarket board, aside from our easy boards, those are on there already. But yeah, those are all up there. Dean 570, thanks for helping. Any recommendation to replace the Noctua? So, I mean, if you still have the 40 millimeter fan in there, we do carry fans, and that's what we run in ours. If you just go on our site and search 40 mm, I'll get you the link. Let's see, 40 millimeter, 24 volt. So the thing is, like, we can get all sorts of fans. I can basically sell whatever I want in my shop. The methodology is I'm not going to sell stuff that we've had issues with. So that's one reason we don't sell Big Tree Tech boards. There's a lot of companies that have no problem selling them. We've had too many issues with lack of support from them, lack of just stability in general. Like, meaning the big thing that gets me is their warranty service is a pain. I have bought their boards before. I have had dead on arrival boards, and it took them over a month to replace the board. And by that point, if I have a problem, good luck. The only easy experience of swapping a board out is when I would buy them from Amazon, because obviously I can just return them and get a new one. I've gotten used boards from them when I purchased from Amazon, so there's that too. So if you get a board from Amazon and it already has, heat sinks on the drivers, somebody probably already used that if the, seal on the bag is broken. But yeah, so basically, like, if we won't use stuff on our printers, like if I won't use it on my printers, I won't trust it in my print farm, we don't sell it. So that's why we don't sell them. So yeah, the 40 millimeter fans that we sell in our shop there, the ones I just linked, those are actually made by Orion, which is a really good brand. I see Nemo Griff mentioning those. And we are working on getting new revisions of these fans in as well, because we're trying to switch all of our fans over to our own brand, so we have even more control over, the quality and the specs on them. All right. Dean's asking, any thoughts on the opinion on the SVO5? I think that is like the Ender 5-esque printer, isn't it? Let me see. Yeah. So I have not used it, but giving Sovol's track record, the fact that it also has a regular LCD like the SVO6, the price seems pretty well done. It's $269. That is a printer I'm thinking of getting in for development after we get through our backlog. The SVO6 seemed to be more popular. Seemed to be more popular than the SVO5, so I limited myself to one printer. But if someone wants to send me their SVO5, I'd be glad to use it for testing, and then you would get an upgraded printer back when I'm done with it. Preferably if you're in the area. I hate shipping printers, but let me know. I'm willing to barter. Let me borrow your printer for a week or two, and let us do our development on it, and then you will get back one with all of our upgrades on it. All right. Let's see. Juliet Charlie Mike says, would you recommend printing a power supply cover to have a bigger, quieter fan on it? I'm concerned about electrical noise. Isn't that what the metal cover is for? So do not put printed covers on your power supplies. Anybody that's telling you to put a printed cover on your power supply is an idiot and doesn't understand the safety of having a metal enclosure over your power supply. I've had power supplies violently fail, especially the off-brand ones. Now, knock on wood, I haven't had a single Meanwhile power supply fail on me, ever. Like, ever. I'm not even joking. I've never had one, whether it's in a printer, it's on a lighting project. I have 2 cigar humidors I built that are, converted wine fridges. Those have Meanwhiles. I have not ever had a Meanwhile power supply fail on me. Now, that's not saying they won't ever fail. I'm just saying the reliability is very high. But yeah, do not replace the metal cover on your power supply whether it's a mean well or not, with a printed one. You're going to have issues with EMI, and the main thing I'm concerned about is if something blows up in that power supply. There's capacitors in there that if they go, they will violently explode. That metal casing is keeping all of that inside, so hopefully all that'll happen is a bunch of smoke comes out and not flames, if that makes sense. Whereas if you take that metal cover off and put a plastic one on there that is flammable, you can see the problem here. So I would not recommend it. Yeah, the only thing I would say would be okay to do is if you take the stock fan out, you know, and print an adapter to affix a larger fan to the outside to like duct it down to the smaller hole. But in terms of replacing that metal cover, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's too much of a safety risk in my opinion. So you can do whatever you want to your printer. But like there's a lot of modifications I see people do to their printer that, you know, a lot of them are just dumb and I don't see the point and they cause more problems than they try to fix. But the ones where they're actually making dangerous situations like replacing a metal cover on the power supply with a plastic one, don't do it. Dean, I saw someone ask about the SVO5. We just talked about that. I think it looks good. I'd buy one if I didn't already have a billion other printers to work on. Mir says, can you talk about why printers and touchscreens are difficult to upgrade? What I take away from the streams is avoid the touchscreens, but many printers have them and tout them as a plus. So the reason the manufacturers tout them as a plus and advertise them is because they're pretty. They're colored, they're pretty, they look cool. It's a touchscreen. They can say they have a touchscreen, you know, just like your cell phone. I've got a touchscreen. The problem is the touchscreens run their own firmware. They're not actually driven by and this is not all touchscreen, this is most of them. When I say touchscreen, I'm talking about the ones that like Creality puts on their printers. And I'm blanking out on some other manufacturers, but oh, look who's calling me. Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna take this. Let's see.
Hello. Reminder for your appointment with guaranteed arrival between 5 p.m.
I think I have to confirm this, don't I?
On Thursday, January 19th. Please listen to this entire message. Para español, oprima el 9.
Oh my God, get to the point. No, we're not canceling the appointment. Why couldn't they say that? Why couldn't they say that up front? I hate Comcast so much. I wish we had another alternative for a hardwired internet connection here. I hate them so much. Anyways, we're talking about touchscreens. So the problem is because they run their own firmware. In order to put more features onto them, you have to have the code to update the firmware. The problem is they don't give you the code and it's closed source. So basically you stick with the touchscreen and you're in this like this rudimentary, very basic level of access to your printer and all its settings. You know, the biggest thing I can think of is like, you know, if you use Android and iOS, they both do the same thing, okay? But Android gives you a little more ability to poke into the settings and mess with things and tweak things. Whereas Apple's like, no, you're stupid. You only get access to certain things. It's simple. You don't need to mess with anything. That's the touchscreens. So, yeah. So basically when you want to start modifying stuff like steps per millimeter, your acceleration, your jerk, like doing tuning on your printer, maybe you're trying to print faster, maybe you're changing your extruder. The other thing is like the firmware on the printer board also needs to have certain things to talk to that LCD because it's using its own protocol. And a lot of the times, like Marlin doesn't support a lot of those screens. So basically you're stuck with the firmware they give you on the printer. When they give you the source code, if you have it for that printer, it doesn't always work. So the thing is, if you get rid of that screen, you can now run standard Marlin, or if you're a Clipper person, you can run Clipper and you have full control over your printer. That's the big thing, is getting control over your printer. So like your touchscreen, if you had like touchscreen side by side, the same exact printer, you're going to have so many more features on the actual LCD that's not a touchscreen versus the one that is a touchscreen. So that's the big thing, is like having control over your machine. The touchscreens don't give you full control over your machine. They make it harder to upgrade the firmware because it has to have the settings for that proprietary screen in it, and they don't always work correctly. So whereas like the 12864 LCDs, those ones with the knob, with the white text on the blue background, those are all fully supported in Marlin, whether it's on a printer that came out 10 years ago or is a printer that came out yesterday. So, all right. So I think we're coming up on 5. I know we had the interruptions, but I am getting frustrated with Comcast. I'm going to try to call them again. I don't know. Maybe I'll go. I don't know what I'm going to do. Mike LeBunny said, I just got gifted a Sidewinder X1. I want to install the EasyEL. Looked at your site and you need a screen. You just, I see you need a new screen. He has it ordered. Any other info I need? So the X1, we don't sell the screens anymore. Those use the small, we were using the MKS minis. And the reason we stopped selling them is, one, the sales were just really low. So it wasn't worth us to keep ordering screens when we weren't selling that many. And then the other thing was MKS kept changing the version of the screen, which means we had to revise all the parts. So if we had a bunch of parts pre-printed, now those parts we couldn't use because they changed the layout of the screen. They did this like 3 times on us. But we still do have firmware for it. So if you can get a screen that works with basically what they call a mini panel in Marlin, that should be plug and play with that board. But we don't sell the kits anymore. I think we have the files somewhere on our site, but again, they're probably not going to fit the latest versions of the screens, if that makes sense. And it's such an old printer, we're not going to go back and like do an updated firmware for it in terms of like supporting a different screen, if that makes sense. But like the EasyABL mounts still work, the wiring still works, the firmware still is there. You just got to have a screen that works with it. So anything that's like a mini style 12864, that's what the firmware is set up for. You could change it to use a 12864 screen. It is one line of code to change it from the mini panel to the RepRap. I think it's RepRap discount full graphics or something like that. You can use either one. We just used the mini one because it was easier to fit in the front of the printer with the bed still clearing once the adapter plate was on there. So I actually got rid of my X1. I gave it to a guy locally. I was like, just come take it. I was originally going to sell it. I was like, you can just have it. It's like, we had so many issues with the ribbon cables. That's the other thing to look out for on those. The ribbon cables that connect everything to the hot end. I had ours go out multiple times. They're just like, it was a nice looking printer, but there was a lot of little problems with it. So, and a lot of them were electrical. Bean5 says, do belts need to be replaced periodically, like every other year? So I replace my belts when I see them stretching or they wear through. I have actually, like, we've gotten to the point where we're wearing through belts now on printers because they've been in service for so long. And it seems to be about 2 years with heavy printing. They last, obviously, it depends on the belt. You know, your belt might be a different version than mine or different build. But yes, belts are consumable items. They should be replaced. So if you start seeing where it's like stretching out, just replace it. Get rid of it. And we do sell belts. The belts we carry in our shop work on like 99% of printers that have the standard 2GT or GT2 belts, whatever you want to call them. Boomer88 says, I just added a micro Swiss for Ender 6. I just added a micro Swiss for the Ender 6. Is it possible to install your EasyABL with the micro Swiss? Yeah, if you put the micro Swiss hot on there, you can still use our EasyABL. If you're talking about a direct drive system, I haven't looked at their direct drive, but they're typically pretty good about support for other probes. I can look it up really quick. Like, yeah, it can be made, whether it's you got to, you know, make a little bracket or stuff. I'm looking right now. Ender 6, micro Swiss, direct drive. Let me see what they have out. So they have the NG direct drive that I believe, because I was talking to Tripod, he has the NG on one of their other printers. They already have an EasyABL mount for that hot end setup. So look at their official documentation. We don't sell that, so I can't be of help, but they are pretty good. So ask them, hey, I'm using EasyABL with my Ender 6. What is the mount to put it on the printer? So, but yeah. All right, I'm gonna answer like 1 or 2 more here. And then we're going to wrap this up. And I think I have dingo sticks down here for the doggo. Leland said, what do you think about NEMA 13 and 23 motors for 3D printer? I mean, if they're grunty enough to move an axis, whatever that axis may be, whether it's an X, Y, Z, or E, if it works, it works. Just make sure to set your steps per millimeter correctly. NEMA 17s are nice because they're readily available, and that's what most designs use. Yeah. So, all right. Let's see. I'll answer 3D printers experiments as the last one here. So he says he's building a custom printer. What panel material can I get that is cheap, suitable for mounting PSU Pi printer mainboard, etc.? Look and see if you can get HDPE. Like HDPE panels are relatively cheap. They're cheaper than acrylic typically. If you have a Menards near you, I know Menards stocks HDPE panels, so HDPE. That's what I would probably do in terms of, like, I'm assuming you're gonna use it for a back panel or something to mount all the electronics to. If I was doing a custom build like that, I'd probably just do that with some nylon spacers for the electronics. That way you're not printing a ton of panels. But HDPE is a pretty good material that would be a good alternative to like acrylic. It's also a lot more durable than acrylic, and if you don't need it to be transparent, I would definitely go with HDPE. So with that, I'm gonna go get Remo's dingo sticks, which I think are in the drawer over here. Oh, did you hear me say dingo sticks? Huh? Where are they? Where am I put them? Where are they? Oh. They were supposed to be in. Oh wait, they're right here. They're sitting next to my Vectrex. Yeah. Do we want a dingo stick? We haven't had an actual dingo stick in a while. No, you haven't. We've been out of them, but look, we got one right here. Come here. Can we sit? Stop. Speak. Shake. Sit. Touch. Come on, you actually have to touch. Good boy. Good boy. All right. That little stinker. Yeah. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thanks for sticking around through all the technical issues. Comcast get shit together. And then T-Mobile, I failed us manually over the T-Mobile, and it was dropping frames. God forbid. Like, I feel like, so the T-Mobile works fine. It's better than nothing. But the problem is I find that when you're doing streaming, either it's great and it just works fine, or there's just not a lot of bandwidth. And like at this time, I'm sure their towers are pretty overloaded. So anyways, thank you guys for sticking around through all the technical difficulties. I'm sorry about the issues. I wish we could have them fixed, but supposedly Comcast sending a tech out tomorrow. We'll see what that yields. So anyways, I appreciate you guys all stopping by. Hope you guys learned something. And as always, happy printing. I'll see you guys on the next one.